And so Chief Justin Schawl joins us. Of course, our conversation brought to you by Marcus & Mack, a law firm representing injured people. Chief Schawl, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you for having me again.
It's good to have you on the air with us here today. As we go through the summer of 2020, probably this summer is unlike 2020 is unlike any other year that's ever been experienced. I'm sure the summer of 2020, from a Borough Police standpoint, is a different type of summer too. Is it quieter right now?
Well, that's a safe comment to make. Quieter in some aspects, certainly. I think that there are less people in the community, so that generally mutes some of the busy that we feel. But in other ways, it's still very much the same. But yeah, 2020. Wow, what a challenge, both physically, health-wise, and mentally.
Yeah.
There's no question about that.
Well, talk about the police force as a whole. We spoke, of course, with you and with your cultural, let's call her, Abigail, your cultural diversity coach a month or so ago about the diversity training and the way that Borough Police have embraced it since even before the crises of last spring. And I would assume that in these summer months, you've had a chance to even double down on those efforts.
Well, I appreciate that. The Borough Police Department's been in partnership with Abigail Adams, who's a doctor of cultural anthropology at the Indiana University of Pennsylvania, and we've been in partnership with her since 2018. So certainly we had some foresight that these were issues that we wanted to make sure we were well-versed and competent to best serve our community. And so since 2018, the Borough Police Department and some of our community partners in law enforcement have engaged in conversations with Dr. Adams on topics of diversity, inclusion, social justice, cultural competencies, things of that nature. And it's been really valuable. I don't know that I would consider her a coach. At this point in time, she's more of a friend and member of the department than a coach, but she certainly is a caring human being, and she's certainly knowledgeable, far beyond what I could be. But everything's a work in progress, and I can tell you both personally and professionally that I never stop learning, and I'm constantly find myself caught off guard with exactly how much I don't know, and sometimes you don't know how much you don't know. So it's been a good partnership. It's continued. I wouldn't say that it's continued in any unnatural or increased way. I mean, we were on a great path to begin with, and I'm certainly have a lot of confidence in that. So I think Indiana Borough residents will be very proud of our efforts in the greater Indiana community, and I'm proud of our efforts. I'm proud of all of our officers. So it's been a very positive experience.
Yeah. One of the things that I talked to you about earlier in the year was when summertime comes and the whole nature of Indiana changes, more people getting outdoors and more activities happening in the evening time, and the streets become a little bit livelier in the summertime, in the nighttime. Indiana Borough police officers getting out of the cars, walking the streets in the daytime, the bicycle patrols, we see them more often. Has that been curtailed as well, or are police generally doing what generally they have done?
Well, that's a great question. Some things have been curtailed, and other things are business as usual. I can tell you that since March 4th, the Borough Police Department's been working under a COVID-19 strategic plan, and that plan escalates and de-escalates with the best available information at the time. So I don't have a set answer for that, other than when it's reasonable and prudent to do so, we're out and about. When recommendations are otherwise, we're not. And the bicycle patrol has not been out and about, but our scheduling has changed a bit at the police department in an attempt to provide better coverage to the community in this time, and to again work within CDC recommendations. So we're deployed differently, but it's differently to provide better for Indiana Borough. So some of the things that the traditional summer doesn't seem to be an adequate statement for me to make, but I certainly will tell you that businesses are being checked nightly and daily, and when it's safe to do so for officers, they're out and about in the community.
Yeah. Folks might wonder about COVID-19 regulations as identified by the governor and different rules and restrictions that are out there, and if Indiana Borough Police are involved in any of the enforcement actions in terms of those restrictions. Are you actually making those calls, or is that left to some other agency?
No, I appreciate that question. So, first, my caveat is I'm no expert on the ever-evolving CDC recommendations, but the Borough Police Department's always going to trend in the path of following best CDC recommendations and recommendations from the Department of Health, and we're certainly keeping ourselves apprised of the governor's recommendations. The police department, and we've tried to be vocal about this, our interest is in advising and educating the public on the governor's orders, and certainly we will field and handle appropriately community concerns and complaints. But specific to your question, we are not engaged in specific enforcement, proactive enforcement details regarding mask wearing or in our businesses. And, my interest as leading the police department, and I know the officers' interest as being community leaders, are to be best partners we can. And it's an extremely difficult time for everyone. Ultimately, there may come a time where strict enforcement is an only best option. But at this moment, being a best partner is not leading us in a direction of proactive enforcement.
I want to ask you something that I've been wondering about for a couple of months now, and it has to do with the shooting that took place a month or so ago in Indiana, the subsequent investigation, including the following day where you tied two investigations together. A number of suspects were rounded up quickly in those cases. As that investigation unfolded, of course, you're cooperating with other police agencies, other law enforcement, and you brought a pretty swift, not end to the situation, because the investigations still go on, of course. But you got those guys off the street as quickly as one could reasonably expect. I mean, that was a pretty good case of quick police work. Tell me about that investigation and how you guys all worked together through it.
Oh, well, I'll tell you, the investigation that you're referring to is on North 3rd Street in Indiana Borough. I don't have the exact date, but it was a month or two ago. And I would offer you this very generally: that the Indiana Borough community is blessed to have a police department that is able to quickly respond and react sufficiently for the needs of the community. So, number one, it's just an appreciation of the resources that we have. But number two, more specifically, I credit Detective Leroy Anderson, Detective Scott Schawl, and Detective John Scherf of the Indiana Borough Police Department, who really, in addition to the responding officers, took the investigation, and they take ownership of every investigation that they conduct. The shooting is a very serious matter. It risks community health and safety and welfare in the most violent way, and so it's their good work and hard their efforts that led to that. But they have a great relationship, and we have a great relationship with our partners. I mean, the Pennsylvania State Police, Indiana Barracks are excellent at what they do, and we were assisted also by the IEP Police Department. So what you have in coordination is just really a lifetime positive relationship between organizations who all care about the community. So when we found out that there may be more, a second part to our specific investigation, the detectives and the Pennsylvania State Police just work together seamlessly, and that's really what we expect and what the community, I'm confident to say this, what our community can expect from its law enforcement. When
a shooting is reported like that and the first calls come in, boy, you kick it in fast, don't you?
Well, we do. Our response time to an emergency within Indiana Borough has to be among the state's best. We can get everywhere very quickly in an emergency, but certainly when a call like that comes out, it really becomes how quickly can we safely mobilize, what is our best approach to the threat that may still exist, and how do we protect everyone in the area while we're responding. So there are a lot of things that go into a response to an emergency call, but certainly there's no hesitation from the men and women of this police department or law enforcement. So response time was probably under 45 seconds to a minute before the first car was on scene at that shooting.
Yeah, everybody goes on high alert, and then the investigation unfolds. And guys like Anderson's been there since the Indiana Borough was founded 200 years ago, hasn't he?
He probably has the experience to be there that long, but no, he's still a young man.
Still a young pup.
Yes.
But it is good to have experienced investigators who can lead those investigations. And then in the moment, the response time by Borough police officers, by the entire department, it's pretty impressive, and I know you must be proud.
I am. I'm proud of everybody, and that's just the value of patrol too. I mean, we want to set the opinion that we're out there everywhere, but we truly are. I mean, we patrol 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, and when officers are in their car, this is exactly what they're doing. They're preparing for an emergency response and the best way to help. So I take no credit for this. I inherited a great police department. Our detectives are among the finest that anyone could ask for, and the community is very, very blessed to have the organization that they have here.
Absolutely. All right. So for folks who are wondering, okay, what do I need to do in order to call my Indiana Borough police officers, particularly in hours when it's not a normal business day? It's a real simple call, isn't it?
It is a real simple call. It's either 724-349-2121. We do have the phone system now, so there may be some navigation that's required if it's a non-emergency call. But in an emergency, it's 911. And don't settle for not being able to get a hold of a police officer. We are here 24 hours a day. You will get a response. The response will be appropriate to the validity of the the volatility of the situation. And so we're always here. Use us as a resource. We are here for the community, and we're just a phone call or a hand wave away.
It's terrific stuff. Borough Police Chief Justin Schawl, thanks for spending some time with us today.
I always appreciate it. Thank you.
Have a great day.
You too.
Have a great day.
You too.